If you're watching this video, you've likely seen that there are thousands of websites and blogs telling you what the best watches are. This is not just another list to add to the pile. This is probably the list that's going to help you more than any other, and I'll tell you why in just a second, so don't go anywhere. I'm Bill Sweet and welcome to the Dad Bod. No, it's not just a page for people with dad bods, it's a page for anyone of any body shape or size to learn ways to elevate your style. So whether you're average, tall, short, skinny, big, healthy, husky, fluffy, or damn, my goal is to help you elevate your style. Today we're going to talk about men's watches. With watches, most men fit into different categories. Some, they don't care about watches at all. They've got a cell phone and that's all they need. Some men get interested in watches and they want to have lots of options to choose from, different styles and colors to match their mood, their outfit, and what they're doing for the day. For any of you in this category, check out my reviews of the monthly watch subscriptions. It might be a really good option for you. And then the third category is men who want to narrow down their watch collection to have higher quality name brand watches. This video is for you guys. For the big name watches like Omega, Jaeger, Rolex and such, they hold their value. They're good investments. It really doesn't matter which one you get, it's gonna be worth it. But for those of us who can't afford a $5, $10, or even a $50,000 watch, what do we get? Again, you've probably seen that there are literally thousands of websites, blogs, and vlogs telling you which one the best watches are. And they all contain a bit of personal preferences of the person who's making the list. Yeah, there are some watches that just are better than others, but those lists primarily are a combination of preferences and facts. This list is based on facts. I'm a very good researcher. I'm good at data analytics. I spent all last week stuck home with COVID, so I just plugged away on the computer and did the research for this video. I spent more than 50 hours compiling over 100 different best watches under $1,000 lists. That way I can rule out the personal preferences and focus solely on the facts. And here are the best watches under $1,000 according to the internet, not just one person. I'm going to split them up into categories of how often they were found in lists online, and since the prices change regularly, and every time I mention a price that changes I get tons of hate comments, I'm going to have links in the video description to show you the current prices. First are the honorable mentions. These ones were in between 35 and 50% of the list, which is a lot because, as I said, I compiled just over 100 lists into this one list. I'm going to go over these ones a little bit quicker than the actual top 10 list. In this list we have the Christopher Ward C60 Sapphire watch. It's a Swiss made and based out of the UK. The brand was created in 2004 and it has since developed quite a cult following. This particular watch with the Sapphire upgrade was made in 2020. Then there's the Frederique Constant Classic watch. The Frederique is a Swiss brand founded in 1988. Their watches are just as good, if not better, than some of the really big names in the watch industry. They maintain a classic and yet modern look to their watches that really helps them stand out. The Mido Ocean Star watch. Now Mido has been around for a long while, over 100 years. They make high quality, stylish watches that are going to take what you dish out. Between the scratch resistant sapphire crystal and the fact that it's got water resistance up to 200 meters means this watch is the real deal. Tom Ford, big name in the fashion industry. He designed this 002 watch to be environmentally friendly and yet stylish. The case is made from 100% ocean plastics. The case back and the crown are stainless steel. Then the inlay is also recycled ocean plastic. But don't let the word plastic fool you. It's still a high quality watch with its water resistant, the diamond cut Luminova painted hands, the sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating. Now if this Hamilton Ventura looks familiar, it's because of the Men in Black. It was originally introduced in 1957 and at the time it was considered to have a futuristic look. It still looks awesome with the black shield shaped dial. It's got a mineral crystal quartz movement. Water resistant up to 50 meters. Oh, and did I mention it's the Men in Black watch and yet still shows up on the best watches lists in 2022? This one is the Orient Star watch. It's still an Orient watch, but it's their higher end lineup. It's slimmer, higher quality, and it's got a much nicer movement piece. Plus, it's a beautiful watch that's guaranteed to get you compliments. And then the last of the honorable mentions is the Apple Watch Series 7. I was hesitant to put a smartwatch on this list, but it did show up in nearly half of the best watches under $1,000 lists, so it's earned its place here. This watch is basically a mini cell phone that fits on your wrist. It's the closest that most of us are going to get to becoming 007 or a Kingsman. All right, now for the top 10. Before we get to the top 10, if you could all do me a big favor, hit that subscribe button. I know this video is only about 15 minutes, but I put in over 50 hours of research to make this video. I believe that deserves a subscribe. And I could really use a pick-me-up because I got fired from the clock factory. I can't believe it after all the extra hours I put in. So I didn't plan it this way, it just kind of worked out like this. The top 10 is split into two sections of 5. The first 5 are the 5 watches that showed up in 50 to 60% of the watch lists, and then the top 5 are the ones that showed up in 60 to 67% of the lists. First on the top 10 showing up in 50 to 60% of the list is the Bulova Lunavar Pilot Chronograph watch. This watch gets the lunar part of its name because of Commander David Scott. He wore it back on the Apollo 15 mission in 1971. He was one of the first humans to drive on the surface of the moon. The one that we've got listed here is not a 50-year-old watch, it's a reissue. This watch might be a bit big for some people's wrists. It is 45 millimeters. It's got a quartz movement, but not a normal quartz movement, which vibrates at 32,768 cycles per second. This one uses ultra-high frequency quartz crystal, which vibrates at 262,144 cycles per second. That's 8 times the rate of a normal quartz movement, which puts the accuracy at plus or minus 10 seconds per year, instead of most watches are, plus or minus 15 seconds per month. This watch has a flat sapphire crystal, and it's got the hour, minute, second hands, plus a 60-minute chronograph, and it's water resistant to 50 meters. Next is the Seiko 5 sports watch. This watch has been an iconic watch for more than 50 years. It has evolved over the years to this more modern design that we've got here, but each upgrade to it keeps the 5 requirements that has kept it on this list for the last 5 decades. The number 5 isn't just, an arbitrary number. It's got meaning. It's got, a day-date display, an automatic winding, protected crown, water resistant, and a durable case and bracelet. Those are the 5 requirements that they've stuck with each time they've updated the Seiko 5 to keep it true to the name. This is a great watch to bring with you while you're on vacation because it's very durable, it's scratch resistant, and the hands light up for when you're in a dark area. And there's several different variants of this watch, with different, face colors and dial colors. I'm personally partial to the SKX007 with the black watch face and the bezel and the white markers and numbers. After that, we've got the Invicta Pro Diver watch. I've got a couple of these. I've got the black watch face and the blue watch face with the gold and silver watch band. This is the most affordable watch that's on this list, but don't let it fool you. It's on more than 50% of the 105 best watches under $1,000 lists for a reason. This watch takes heavy influence from the Rolex Submariner watch. You can usually find this watch for around or under $100, but the quality of this watch meets or exceeds watches priced more than 5 times higher. The only real downside that I've heard about this watch on any of the pages about it is that it's got the word Invicta on the side, which some people like, a few people don't. Other than that, it's a great watch and I wear mine quite often. This one is the Jungus Max Bill, which is made in Germany. This watch has a very clean and minimalistic look and feel to it. Their intent was to make a timeless watch that doesn't forget time. They've had a similar look and feel to them since they were first introduced in the 1960s. It's got a 38mm watch case. They've got the quartz and manual options. It's a smaller design for a watch. Some people prefer watches that are larger. Some people prefer a toned down one. This one probably won't be getting caught in your shirt sleeve. One thing to note with this watch, well, the strap, is I've seen quite a bit of reviews regarding how quickly the strap wears out. A lot of people end up replacing the strap with this watch. And then the last of the first half of the top 10 is the Swiss Army Victorinox, the INOX mechanical watch. This watch has gone through the ringer. It's withstood 130 extreme tests over a 4-year period. Some of them were a bit unusual, such as strapping it to a balloon, popping the balloon from 32 feet onto a tile floor, or strapping it into a bobsled, keeping it in a refrigerator, driving over it with a 64-ton tank, and many more. Quartz battery aside, this watch is probably going to outlast its owner. The watch is 43 millimeters and it includes a highly resilient rubber strap. It's made from 316L stainless steel and it was tested to be fine even after being dropped into a washing machine at 90 degrees temperature, as well as 200 meters below sea level. Alright, that's the top 5. Now for those of you who are still watching, I've got some awesome news for you. They're finally making a movie called Clocks. I say it's about time. These last 5 watches showed up on 60 to 60% of the 105 lists that I've compiled into this one list. Again, these last 5 are in no particular order. We're going to start off with the Casio G-Shock B5000. Now, Casio watches, they're everywhere. You're going to see some of the same celebrities that wear $20,000 Rolex watches also wearing a $30 Casio watch, or, a few $100 Casio G-Shock watch. For the most part, Casio G-Shock watches are digital. There are a few models which are analog and digital. And you can get these with the silicone or with the metal strap. Now, I've always been a little bit more partial to the metal straps. This is a watch that you can wear with shorts and a t-shirt, or you can wear it with a nice suit and tie. It's going to do what you need it to do, and it's rugged enough to withstand most of the everyday and not so everyday things that we put our watches through. G-Shock, shockproof, not electric shockproof, but physical force shock. Plus, it's got 200-meter water resistant, and there's tons of styles that you can pick from with, having a solar powered battery, an atomic clock to make sure that they stay at the right time, backlight, vibration alarms, and then some have a compass, a thermometer, and even an altimeter. These things are versatile, which is why they've shown up on so many lists. Another stylish field watch type is the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical Watch. This one was the number 1 on all of the lists. It showed up on 67% of the lists. You can get this watch with all sorts of different watch straps, such as a leather, canvas, nylon, NATO, or even stainless steel. And you got a few sizes that you can choose from between 36 and 50 millimeters, mostly in the 36 to 44 millimeter range. This watch is a reissue of the original military spec design that the US government contracted throughout the Vietnam War time frame. Those were military grade, which, anybody who's spent any time in the military knows to mean cheap, whereas this one uses high quality components. That way they ensure that it's rugged and yet refined. Hamilton watches have been on men's wrists since 1892. They were the first to introduce the electric battery power. They came under Swiss ownership in 1979, and they still stick with the high quality craftsmanship that they were known for. The current ones use an H50 movement piece, which is mechanical hand winding, and it's got 80 hours of power reserved. The second hand beats at 6 times per second, giving it a really smooth rotation. Next is the Longine Conquest watch. This is a very sleek looking watch, which is a solid daily watch for those looking for a watch that's going to meet their everyday needs. The company's been making watches since 1832, and in 1878, they actually created the first chronograph watch movement. The company was one of the watch companies that was officially recognized as the Dirty Dozen for being approved for sale to the military. The sizes range from 39 to 43 millimeters, and you can get it with a black, silver, or blue dial. And it's quite thin at 11.7 millimeters, but high quality with the sapphire crystal, the internal anti-reflective coating, the screw-down case back, making it water resistant to 300 meters. It's got automatic movement with around 72 hours of power reserve. Longine has watches that range from just under $1,000 to watches that cost $6,000 and up. The Conquest watch is considered by many to be an entry point into the higher priced luxury watches. Here we have another Seiko watch, the Seiko Prospects. This one showed up on 64% of the lists that I compiled. It's often referred to as the Arnie watch because of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who wore it in a bunch of his action movies back in the 80s. I personally don't care that much for this watch, but obviously it's done something right to earn its place among so many of these lists. Seiko was the first dive watch introduced in Japan, and they continue to be known for their innovative and high quality that goes into each of their watches. The upper side of the case is set at a little bit more of a pronounced angle, which allows the surface to shine more brightly. The center of gravity was lowered to make sure that this watch sits more comfortably. The watch does feature a Hardix crystal, which I'm not sure why. It's not as strong as Sapphire, but it's still a good watch. It's got a unique 6-month power reserve. You can leave it in the dark for months, and then once you put it in the sun to charge, it's going to jump back to the right time. And then last but not least is the Tissot PRX Powermatic 80 watch, which showed up on 65% of the lists. I love this watch. It's very sleek and classic looking watch. The K shape is the shape that the Tissot shape has been using since the late 70s. The 80 in the name represents the 80-hour power reserve that this watch has. Tissot has been doing what they do for nearly 170 years, so they know a thing or two about making good quality watches. They're one of the largest producers of Swiss-made watches in the world. This one's got 316 stainless steel, scratch resistant, sapphire crystal, anti-reflective coating, and a see-through case back. The dial Comes in blue, black, or white. Alright, there you have it. Now you know the top 10 watches under $1,000, as well as a few honorable mentions. The next part is up to you. I've got links in the video description to help you find the current prices for each of these watches, as well as to see the different options available for many of them. Now I'm curious. Leave me a message in the comments to let me know which one's your favorite. Also, here's a few more videos that you may enjoy, and I will see you there.